Hello and welcome to another Franchise Hockey Manager 6 stream. My name is Adam. I am the community manager of Franchise Hockey. With me, as always, not pictured on your screen, but for the first time in 2020 is FHM producer Jeff. Say hi, Jeff.
Hey, everybody.
And we are back with a brand new game. And Jeff, what the heck is going on?
I got visual aids this time. We're not going straight into the game. We decided to we wound up our making of the SPHL stream I think before Christmas, so I wanted to start something new, and I've been wanting to do a Canucks historical game for a while. But rather than just starting with the team in 1970 or some other date like we always do with historical, I decided to show off some of the other stuff that you can now do with FHM's historical mode, like editing and restructuring the league at different times. So what we're doing is the 1965 version of the Canucks. Now, the problem is the Canucks weren't around until 1970, so why is there a Canucks team in 1965? Well, let me explain. The guys on your screen right now, on the left, as the hockey card says, that's his 1959-60 Parkhurst card. Stafford Smythe, the chairman of the hockey committee of the Toronto Maple Leafs, the hockey committee being him, Harold Ballard, and John Bassett, who taken over from Conn Smythe, Stafford Smythe's father, after he got when he was kind of winding down and retiring. And the guy on the right is Johnny Canuck, the logo. It's actually kind of an updated version of it, but it's the logo of the old Vancouver Canucks of the Western League, which played from the 1930s up to the 1960s until the NHL Canucks came in. So when the NHL was finally starting to talk about expanding in the early 60s, there were a lot of different things proposed. It eventually wound up with the 1967 expansion, which added the half dozen new teams all at once. But
which doubled the league size.
Yeah, doubling the league size from 6 to 12. But before that, there was a proposal, I think it came up in early 1964. Smythe wanted to do kind of what his dad had done for Toronto, build an arena and build up the new team around it. Conn Smythe actually took over an existing NHL team, the St. Patrick's, but built them a new arena, Maple Leaf Gardens, and changed the name to the Maple Leafs. And that's sort of his legacy in Toronto. Stafford Smythe wanted to do something similar and make a whole bunch of money in the process. So what the idea he hit upon and proposed to the city council in Vancouver was he would take this property. I think you're getting that now. You should see that. That's the old Vancouver bus depot at the corner of Dunsmuir and Seymour Street. It was built in the 1920s, I think, and was the main bus depot in Vancouver up until the late 40s, where they built a new one a few blocks down. But by the early 60s, this was sort of they were wondering what to do with this building, and that whole block, really, you can't see it on the right, but there's the Hudson's Bay store is just off to the right of that picture, major commercial area, and at least at the time, in downtown Vancouver. So Smythe said, hey, why don't you sell this property to me, this whole block, and I'll show you the map in a second of exactly where it is. Actually, I can do that right now. Downtown Vancouver, and the area we're talking about here is this little circle, or this square block here. And Stafford Smythe basically says, well, why don't you sell me this whole block for $1? I'll build an $8 million arena on it, 20,000 seats, state-of-the-art. And Vancouver will get an NHL team for this. Now, obviously, selling a giant, basically a square block of prime downtown real estate for $1 is a pretty good deal for Stafford Smythe, even though he's going to be spending some money on building an arena. But the local government was kind of lukewarm about the idea. The provincial government liked it, so it wound up being put on the plebiscite for the 1964 Vancouver elections. And the voters said, hell no, that's a terrible idea, and I think he lost by about 30 points. And said, no, we're not going to support this, and that killed it off, and Stafford Smythe got very angry and basically said, there's no way I'm going to ever let Vancouver have an NHL team as long as I'm alive, and he almost succeeded that because the Canucks eventually got the team in 1970 after being skipped in the 1967 expansion. and Smythe died about a year later from bleeding ulcers. So he was almost correct there. But anyhow, this interesting thing about this little block, if I zoom out a little bit here, that's, well, just to show you there, the overall picture of downtown Vancouver. The old Denman Street Arena where the Vancouver Millionaires played in the early years of the PCHA and the WCHL, WHL was down here.
Which is playable in historical mode.
Playable in historical mode in this game. If you want to go back and do that, you can do that. It burned down in the early 30s. And at that point, the Western League Canucks moved way over here to the Pacific National Exhibition, not to the Pacific Coliseum, which wasn't built for the NHL Canucks until the 70s, but the old PNE Forum, which was this terrible old barn. It's going a little closer, you can see it's super narrow. It's not great for hockey inside. It's actually still
Just
standing, but they pulled all the ice making equipment out of it in the early 80s. What were you going to say, Adam?
I said just happened to be a place where they could play.
Yeah, it was the one thing that was available. But and it's still there. It's apparently not that great of a concert venue either, which is what they're using for it now. So that's that's the first three Vancouver arenas. Denman Street, the Pacific Coliseum, which got built in 1970, and then there's Rogers Arena / GM Place, whatever you want to call it, right downtown. But in the middle of all of that is the building where is this block right in downtown Vancouver, very similar to the way Maple Leaf Gardens is set in downtown Toronto, where Stafford Smythe wanted to build. I'm just going to zoom into Google if this will work.
For that matter, where Bell MTS Place is in Winnipeg too.
Yeah, same. And in fact, I think isn't it right beside the Hudson's Bay building in Winnipeg, or attached to it?
Not right besides. It was built on the old Eaton's property, actually.
Eaton's, yeah, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, they tore down Eaton's to build
This building back here in the background is the Bay building, then St. Regis Hotel beside it, and Gotham Steakhouse if you're ever in Vancouver. Fantastic place to get a steak in there. But this block is the current Google Street View of the block that they would be talking about. So if Smythe had gotten his way, this all would have been cleared out. Some of these buildings, I think, date back to that period. The old Hotel Dunsmuir right there is from that, is actually well before that. It's still standing. It's this sort of miserable, rundown residence they use for international students. But they would have cleared that whole block out, built an arena in there. But the one interesting thing from my perspective is, if I swing this camera around, that's the BC Institute of Technology's downtown campus. The top couple of floors of which are leased out office space. And this window right here, up in the top corner of it, for a couple of years in the early 2000s, used to be my old office window. So if the arena had gotten built in the 60s, I would have been staring out from my office at the Canucks. Well, I guess the old arena, it would have been at that point when I was there in 2000, 2001 or so.
Well, who knows? They could have still been playing there.
No, I mean, it would have been 1965 arena. It probably would have been replaced by the GM Place eventually, and I would have still had to walk the 10 blocks downtown. But yeah, I mean, if they didn't move there, I probably would have never quit that job because it would have been a fantastic location. And maybe FHM never gets made, so that would probably be a bad thing. But it's just my little connection to this there. So getting into the FHM ramifications of all of that. There we are, back to the FHM screen. What I've done is taken the 1965-66 NHL season, started on July 1st, and enabled the editing mode, which you can see in manager options. I've got historical league editing turned on, commissioner mode on. And I've done a little bit of the work already. I've edited in the team. You can see that here if I go into the league edit. Structure editor, I just added the Vancouver Canucks as an extra team and set up the expansion draft already. I think that's the rules I used. The expansion draft rules are, I think, fairly similar to the way to the 67 draft, which, my best guess at how they would have done it if with a 1965 expansion for the Canucks.
So you're not trying to stock your team? Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's still going to be a much better team. I mean, with the 67 draft, you're taking players from 6 teams and spreading them out over 6. And here we're only doing it on 1 team, so we're probably going to be a little stronger than those teams were. but I'm letting
Although,
all the teams protect at least one goalie, 3 defensemen, 7 forwards. So 12 players, they can keep a core. We're probably going to be a little more competitive. I bet we don't finish. My prediction for the first year is we don't finish last.
although there is some free agents we should probably be looking at.
Haven't even checked those yet, so I'll do that once we do the expansion draft. But you can see that's we added the expansion draft options.
Do it
A
now.
couple of updates ago. And anything else I wanted to show there? No, I don't think so. And well, show draft order. You can see we're the only team picking. And as soon as we advance, we'll go to that draft. What else did I do? I did set up the arena and everything for the Canucks, and you can see
We could get our goalies of the future right now.
Stafford Smythe. What are you? I'm looking at free agents. I'm not seeing anything that impressive.
I got a very young Tony Esposito.
Oh, no, it's okay. You're sorting by potential. Yeah, now 22 years old.
And an old man, Jacques Plante.
I think we may be able to get some of the rights of some of these guys in the draft. So I'm going to run the draft first and then see what's.
They are free agents right now, as they're unrestricted free agents.
Let's see. I'm going to get 3 goals. I think I've set it to 3 goalies in the. Draft editor, but yeah, goalie round is 3 rounds, so we may better get a better goalie than that.
Maybe we had a better goalie than Tony Esposito. Are you serious?
Well, he's still 22 at this point, and you don't know if he's going to develop like he did in real life.
Well, you could also get a very young Lars Erik Soderberg as well.
Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything, and I've set them up in the lovely new arena that Stafford Smythe is going to build, 20,000 seats, so attendance should be pretty strong. I just used the 67 Canucks as a basis for the starting attendance, so we'll see if we can outdraw them. I think they got, what was it?
2,000 or 3,000?
They got about 15 something, so I said it at 16. It's the Vancouver Gardens. Very original name is what it was going to be called. So
well, if you're ripping off the Leafs, you might as well fully rip.
Yeah. Staff. We should probably see if we need to hire anybody. We got trainers. We actually got a fairly good complement of scouts. We actually got a couple of real guys assigned to scouts. Franny Flaman, Johnny Getselig, Joe Primo, Frank Boucher. We actually got a whole bunch of. I take it the Jets just lost to the Leafs.
No, they just won it in a shootout.
Okay. After blowing it with 2 seconds left.
There was 14, thank you.
Okay.
So
let's
it went
continue
to
this and
fourth
get on the
round. Yep.
draft. I think we've got enough staff to.
You're killing. Can you please put an offer in for Esposito, please?
Let me just double check and make
nobody
sure
else.
he's not available in this. Because if he's available in this, I can lock him down by getting his rights. It's strange. I'm not sure why he's. I'm gonna have to check that. I'm not sure why his rights are showing up, but yeah, okay. I'm gonna make a couple offers on free agents then. And we'll just ask for the. We'll give them what we'll offer what they're requesting. I don't know if that's necessarily gonna get them for that, but Esposito, Andre Lacroix, and
Jeff,
Carl Brewer.
Jeff,
Adam.
You are super quiet on the stream right now.
That any better? I've had my head turned away from the mic. We got a new mic here, so I'm.
Yeah. No, I just gotta.
No, I could. It's odd. I could. Wait, let me just. I don't want to listen to it in the middle of the stream. Good. So I'm going to get that audio, but I seemed okay when I was.
It's a little better, but you still might want to turn yourself up a bit.
Okay, I'll get him a little closer. Maybe that'll make a difference. And who's the other one? I got Brewer. Okay, I got a forward defenseman and goalie for free agents. So let's go back to the expansion draft. And we've got nothing but Canucks picks here, so we've got 3 goalies to take at the start. Let's have a look at what's available. And there's probably going to be some pretty good goalies there because each team can only protect one. And yeah, not surprisingly, Terry Sawchuk, Leafs have to, I guess, Leafs probably protected Johnny Bower over him.
I would imagine. Jeff, I just sent you a message. If you want to quickly look at it.
Oh, it's the music. I'm just gonna kill the background music then if that's coming in too loud.
No, you just need to turn it down a bit, I think.
No, I can't get it. That was actually the lowest possible setting I could use. So let's just turn that off for now, so we haven't got that distraction. Okay. Anyhow, back to this. So we've got to pick up a goalie here. No, we got to pick up 3 goalies here, rather. Do we want 35-year-old Terry Sawchuk?
Yes.
That'll buy us some time. I think he'll probably. I don't think we want to be playing him every day. He's only 3 stars at this point, but okay. Now for backups, I should probably sort by potential and okay. George Gardner. Say it. Go ahead.
Still a little quiet, actually, all things considered.
Okay. Is that coming through any better now?
Louder for me, so I'm assuming probably louder for the stream as well. Let me just check. That's why I keep logging off.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm just going to keep going here. Giacomin, who's 26 at this point. Dennis Diordi. Don Simmons. Now he's a little older. And actually, the goalie quality isn't quite as good as I expected.
If only there was some people in free agency.
I made Esposito an offer. Thank you.
Listen, our goalie combo could be 1-2 Terry Sawchuk and Jacques Plante. That sounds amazing.
I mean, that's kind of what the Blues eventually wound up with Plante and Hall in the actual 1967 draft.
Well, I know.
But let's go with Giacomin and maybe take another longer-term prospect. Is there anybody like a 1.5 star, 3 star? No. Maybe Jack Norris, also from the Bruins. Or, yeah, no. I know Villemure was probably going to turn out better, although Norris is showing more potential right now. Let's go with Norris. Oh, whoops, I only got 2 goalies. Okay, it's a good thing we did sign a free agent goalie because I thought it was 3 rounds of goalies. We've only got 2 rounds of goalies, and I think it's probably 6 defensemen. And I filtered the wrong things. Okay, so defenseman now. Adam, you still with me?
Yeah, I am. I'm just in the chat. Someone says they can hear one of us more clearly than the other, and I'm guessing that's probably just kind of waiting to see who they say come up again. So
yeah, okay. Well, keep going for now. I'm the one that's doing most of the talking, so if that's the one that's clear, that's probably better. Easy first choice, Gary Bergman from the Wings. Little surprised they haven't protected him. Was a member of Team Canada in 1972. Just a younger guy at this point, but definitely somebody we can sort of build a D around.
Sorry, who did you take?
Gary Bergman.
Okay.
Another solid pick, Bob Wojtowicz out of Boston, young defensive defenseman, had a decent career for the bad Bruins teams in the 60s. Yeah.
To humor me, click ability and sort, or sorry, click by potential and sort by least, and double click it so you see the lowest ranking guy. Assuming you're the same as mine.
There we go, Don Cherry.
Okay. Goody says Adam is louder, but I can still hear Jeff just fine. I'm using headphones.
Okay, so I think we'll assume its sound balance is okay for now. So it's coming through. It sounded okay for me. I think I gotten a little too far away from the microphone when it started to fade out. So I was leaning over to. I've got everything on my right hand monitor with the maps and all of that stuff. So I was leaning over in that direction just unconsciously while I was doing that, and that probably made the sound fade out. Um, okay, the other, not a lot of. See, I was expecting better players to be available. Mostly we're going to have two-star guys on D, so hopefully we got a few better forwards in this.
So, who did you take after?
I've got
Oh,
Gary
okay, never mind.
Bergman
Sorry.
and Bob Wojtowicz so far.
You don't want Jim Ling Lingwa, or is he not
Junior
available?
Langlois, yeah, from the wings.
I'm sorry, Junior.
Yeah, I can play either side. I'm 30 years old, though. So I want to try
Yeah,
to
but we're gonna have some
have
of
a
those guys.
fairly younger team. I'm just looking farther down the list if anybody's likely to develop. Well, I think
Well,
Bob
there's
Bond we want to take for sure because he'll be a good solid middle pair defenseman for us, or maybe a defensive guy in the top pair.
so you're just trying to create the golden seals. Is that what we're going for?
I mean, he did have that big goal for them in '67 on a broken leg.
I was being very serious with the guys
Yeah.
who you're talking. I was gonna say in mine, I got Bob Wall available.
Yeah, I think he might be a little. I don't really trust that 2.5 star potential on him. I don't remember him being a great player. Doug Roberts would be kind of useful. I think I'm going to take him because he can play defense or wing. That'd be handy to have.
You could take some of these coaches. Al McNeil, Al Arbor.
Oh yeah, Al Arbor's in there. I wound up with the Blues in the real expansion draft. Uh, Wayne Hillman, future Winnipeg Jet in the WHA. Let's grab him. That's
Here's
still
another
there,
one you can
defenseman.
grab. Harry Sinden.
Sinden.
Sinden. Ah, I knew it too, and I still
Yeah, I
said it
think
wrong.
he's in there, but I don't think we want him. He's probably got to be. He's got to be right near the bottom of the list.
Did you sim through the year here? Is this what? Or
Nope. This is starting fresh in '65.
okay, that's odd then.
Uh,
Don Cherry is listed with Toronto. That's not right.
no, he was the Leafs owned his rights at one point.
Did they?
Yeah, they had him. Cherry was Cherry. The Bruins had him. The Leafs had him. Montreal had him. I think a couple of times. He bounced around a
Okay.
lot.
I was thinking at this point he was with Boston. My bad.
Now Boston was who he came in with in '54, and I think eventually wound up back with them later in his career. But he was a Leaf for a while. He was a Hab for a while.
Okay, my bad.
Yep. And okay, we do need a left defenseman. We got a younger guy. I think maybe we will have to take Wall because the next guy down from him is a big step. Yeah, I'm going to go with Wall. And is that Jim Watson? No, that's Jim Watson. That's not Jimmy Watson from the Flyers. We want. Oh no, we're into the forward section now. Forgot it
Oh
mentions it
man,
up
our
there.
forwards are going to be stacked here.
Oh, I'm setting the filter up for it now. I'm hoping you're right.
Got some players. Got Dick Duff,
Oh yeah,
Eddie
we're
Shack,
gonna be tough. Wow, that's
Red Berenson.
okay. The obvious first pick here is John Ferguson from Montreal because he's from
Well,
Vancouver
that's
and a future Winnipeg Jets general manager.
that's I saw him too, and of course, yeah. But you got to take Dick Duff.
Yep, Dick Duff. Who was he? I got to look it up. Oh yeah, his Leafs career was done at this point. He started to bounce around. So, oh, Eddie Shack, legendary Eddie Shack. Got to have him.
We had him in another game where he came in late and just did a good job.
I think we want to take Berenson, who at this point is sort of a spare part in Montreal.
How do you not take Berenson?
Yeah, he was one of the first, probably St. Louis's first good player for the first few years. once he finally got some playing time. Yeah, Duff is the only 3-star guy, so that seems like a given. We got 3 left wings, so we got to look at the other wing now. Johnny McKenzie from the early '70s Bruins he's in Chicago at this point. Hadn't been traded over yet, so let's grab him, and we got to grab some higher potential guys too. Although I'm not seeing anybody higher than the 2.5.
No, but again, we can grab a guy like Soderberg on free agency.
Yeah. Let's see. Kent Schinkel was. I thought Schinkel was younger than that because I remember him playing with he was with the Penguins until the early '70s, but he's 32 here, so maybe not. Ted Hampson, yeah, that seems like a good pick. Had a pretty good post-expansion career, even though he's 28 here. Forbes Kennedy was taken by the Flyers in the real expansion draft in '67. We got a couple of good scorers. He might make sense as a third-line checking guy because I'm not really seeing any great alternatives to him here. Not that physical, but okay, there's our 3 centers, 3 left wings. Probably want to balance it out with a couple of right wings.
Guru says quite a few small players. That was kind of how it was at the time. I mean,
Yeah, if I sort by height, get well, we got a few big guys.
realistically, though, I mean, people have gotten taller as time has gone on,
Yeah.
and so a lot of these guys were just 5'8" to 6 feet tall.
Oh, funny enough, Reggie Fleming is only 5'9". Is probably one of the toughest guys available. And I think even though he's a left wing, I think Shaq can play right wing. So I'm going to take Fleming and have him on the left side and probably move Shaq over to the right side. And we need one more.
Bill Collins.
Right wing. Actually, I think I'm going to go with Claude LaRose, who.
Oh, wait, what about just if we want to really round it out? Glenn Sather.
Is he in there? How far
He
down is
is.
he?
If you sort by potential, he comes up pretty quick.
Oh, 3.5 stars. Left wing, no, that's
3.5 stars. 2.5.
2.5 stars, yeah. All right, below him, I've got Leon Rochefort, who was original Canuck. Wayne Rivers, who's a pretty big scorer in the WHA. I think for San Diego, he had one, I think he had a 60-goal year at one point. That might be interesting. He's only 23.
Terry Crisp.
Yeah, there's all kinds of future head coaches in there. Wayne Maxner, who was the Wings head coach for a while. Parker McDonald, who was
Norm
LA's, I think.
Bodine.
But still undecided on the right wing. I don't want to take anybody that's. Okay, actually, scratch that. We're not taking a right wing. I just realized Orland Kurtenbach, legendary Canuck, is available, so we got to take him. No getting
I saw
around
him
it.
and I was hoping you wouldn't recognize him.
Oh, and I'm wrong. We got 4 rounds of forwards, so that's just fine. I can take another couple of forwards here. So I think I'll just look for the higher potential guys here. And Bill Collins, who I think wound up eventually at some point playing in Atlanta and Washington in the '70s. So I think he'll be around for a while. Let's take him. Need a left wing, I think, and a right wing. Claude LaRose, who was went back and forth between St. Louis and Montreal and was part of the Montreal dynasty teams in the '70s. That seems like a decent pick. And okay, do you really want to take Glenn Sather?
Absolutely. Let's
Okay,
screw up
we'll
the
take Glenn
Oilers.
Sather. And there we go. That is our team. We're going to have to probably assign numbers to a few of these guys, but I'll just let it advance. I will grab a few more free agents. I don't want to cheat too much and grab a ton of high potential guys. Nobody was signing Swedish players at this point, so I'm not going to cheat and take Sjoberg.
If you don't, somebody else will. How about Dennis Kearns?
I think most of the guys on this free agent list were just Kearns is in there.
Yeah.
Were people who were sort of stuck in the minors and not signed to an NHL team at this point.
Or playing in the WHL, which is where the Canucks were.
Yeah.
Uh, who did I see here? Wayne Connolly.
Another good WHA player. Okay, I'll look for him. We got Vic Howe. Gordie Howe's brother is still hanging around here, 35 years old.
If you wanted to give a little bit of something, Willie O'Ree's hanging around in free agency as well.
Actually, I think I will. Let me. Wait, who was I looking for?
He's quite
Connolly.
a ways down. Andre Lacroix might be a decent pickup.
Yep, I already made an offer to him.
Okay.
And so does O'Ree look? I think I had O'Ree rated fairly decently at this point because I
He's
remember he was
one and a
still
half
productive
stars.
he was in the AHL like into the 70s when he was in the Islanders farm system at one point. Or not? I don't think he was actually an Islander. I think he was playing on their farm team and was like the second or third leading scorer. I can't find. Oh, there he is. Yeah, 1.5 stars. Got a decent chance
Did
of making
you
the team.
offer Dennis Hextall
No,
coming
but I
over?
think I am going to do that, and I think I'll look for one more goalie, one more defenseman. Yeah, see, I think he was kicking around the Central League
Wayne
maybe at this
Stevenson
point.
is there.
Hextall was. Uh,
Question from the chat. No, this is not a mobile game. This is for PC and Mac.
yeah. Have
If you
anything
need a
on
defenseman,
Steam or what were you say?
yep. If you need a defenseman, Lou Nan is available.
Nanny. Oops.
I don't. Keith Magnuson. Oh, old man Doug Harvey. There you go. 40-year-old Doug
Actually,
Harvey.
he came out of retirement. I think I'm going to grab him. He came out of retirement. Oh, did you just sort by age and grab the oldest guy in there?
No, I did not. I was
Oh, there you
been
go.
looking by talent and
He
just see
actually, I
what
think he
names
was
pop
retired at
up.
this point and then came out of retirement to play for the Blues when they expanded. I don't think he did a whole lot. If I remember right, he had a bit of a drinking problem at this point in his career. But let's grab him just in case, because, hey, he's a future Hall of Famer. And got a few offers open, so let's see, continue and see who we get here.
Man, Doug Harvey wants like 3 times as much money as everybody else. That's hilarious.
Okay, we're going to have a whole bunch of numbers to assign here.
Bum, bum, bum. And a couple people in the chat telling us they're having a great time with the game after they picked the game up on sale.
Good to hear. Yeah, we were kind of
Always.
hoping we'd get a. Oops, no, Collins doesn't get that. That's Ferguson's number. Yeah, we had a pretty successful sale, I think. You never know. We may do it again sometime soon since it went over so well. So keep an eye out for that just in case we do.
Or maybe we should raise the price.
I don't think that's going to make you too popular.
No, you don't think that would work?
No, I don't think so. Geez, everybody
Yeah.
wants number 9.
Of course, everybody wants to be Gordie Howe.
Well, Gordie Howe is actually in this one and still pretty good at this point.
Well, yeah.
And actually, I will take a. How much time we got? About 20 minutes left. I'll do a little tour through the league, so you can get an idea of where the teams actually are at this point. I guess Mackenzie wants the reverse of his usual 19. He's getting 91. Shaq gets 23. Almost done with this. Okay, there we go. Let's just continue this a little bit first. Don't think we missed anything significant. Nope. Oh, we got a few players signed. So we got Ori, Barents, Ori, Lacroix, and Esposito. Probably get a few more.
That's
well, go ahead.
Interesting.
What's that?
You'll see it coming up here in a minute. I think, unless you have done Claude LaRose already.
I haven't signed him yet. What's odd?
Oh, sorry. There's an issue with him wanting a particular number.
I'm giving 6 to Kearns, and Glenn Sather can wear a lucky 13.
He wants a number that's not retired, but is in honor of.
Oh yeah, I think I have somebody else wanted that. I already gave it to them. And we're getting into the high numbers. I think we got pretty much everybody we wanted to sign. And Doug Roberts burned himself while barbecuing. That's a fine start to this game.
Unfortunate for him.
Number signed. What did he do? He's got his second degree burns 2 to 3 weeks. So there we go. We've got 29 players on the roster. I think that's a decent number to start with. We can always grab a few more if we run into injury trouble or something, but I think that'll be fine for our first year. Just sorting by ability. Brewer, Sawchuk, and Duff. Yeah, this is looking a lot like the Leafs. Well, Leafs and a little Montreal mixed in there too. See, I don't think we're going to be in the playoffs, but I think we can play respectably well. Just to give a quick tour around the league, this was Montreal had won the Cup in 1965, so heading into this season. This is sort of we're in the period where it's that sort of semi-dynasty that you never hear about, where Montreal won it 4 times in 5 years, but were never really the dominant team at the top of the league. They just somehow always won it in the playoffs. So they're in pretty good shape. Gump Worsley and Charlie Hodge in goal. And I think who they are, their other, Claude Provost, great defensive forward. Jean Beliveau is still just a little past his prime here. Henri Richard is in the middle of his. So it's sort of the transition team between the great team, the teams of the 50s and the great teams of the 70s. Young Yvan Cornwallis, Jacques Leperrier. Yeah, so that's a great deep team. I don't think we're beating these guys. Rangers, on the other hand, are, well, they've got a few decent players. They were near the bottom in this period, but they've got younger guys. They've got Gilbert and Rattel, and I think Vic Hadfield's down there at some point. So the core of their contending team from the 70s is already there. Harry Howell, future Norris winner over Bobby Orr in Orr's rookie season. So they've got depth, but it thins out a little bit towards the bottom. So I don't know if we're quite as good as them, but might be able to steal a few games there. The Leafs, Johnny Bower in goal, 40 years old, but still 5 stars. Not that surprising. Big M, Frank Mahovlich on left wing, 5 stars. Little thinner at center after Dave Keon. I think they may have... Did they lose somebody in the draft? I don't think we took anybody from them, but and then that's pretty much the defense they won the Cup with a couple of years later. Alan Stanley, Red Kelly, Marcel Pronovost, and some future guys from the 70s, Pete Stamkowski, Ron Ellis. So not quite championship caliber at this point, but still pretty good, and they're probably going to get better. Bruins were, this is just the start of the Bobby Orr era. If you don't, he's on their protected list, if I remember right. Yeah, they haven't signed him yet. He's only 17, so he can't play in the league yet, but I think he's on, they own the rights to him, so he'll be showing up next season, most likely. And we'll have to deal with that at that point. But for now, the Bruins are a little on the weak side. They've got a few guys from the 70s team, Johnny Busak, Eddie Johnston in goal, and a young Bernie Parent as the backup, who was only 20, so he wasn't eligible for the expansion draft, so we couldn't steal him. Unfortunately, that would have been the guy we could have built around in goal for the next 10 years or so.
Well, you can't take everybody, Jeff.
Yeah. And no Phil Esposito yet. Esposito is in the league, but still on the Hawks at this point. He's just a 2-star guy with 4.5-star potential. And the Hawks are probably the best team in the league right now. They've got Glenn Hall, who's not too far past his prime. He's still 33. Bobby Hull, who's the defending Hart Trophy winner, and Stan Mikita, who led the league in scoring the previous year. So 2 5-star guys, young superstar up and coming in Esposito, who they probably won't trade away in this game like they really did. And then various other team guys from the solid Chicago teams of the late 60s, early 70s. Pierre Pilote, who won the Norris Trophy a bunch of times. Doug Mons. Also on D, Eric Nestorenko, Kenny Warham. So maybe not quite as much depth as I thought, but still a pretty solid team. And last, is that last? Yeah, there we are in Montreal. But the last team here, the Wings, who've got a young Roger Crozier in goal. So they're a little weak defensively at this point, but they've still got Gordie Howe, who's only 37 at this point, which is basically mid-career for Gordie Howe.
Yeah.
And arguably probably the best player in the game at this point. And still playing with Alex Delvecchio. I think Ted Lindsay has moved on at this point, or was he? I think he might have been retired by now.
Yeah. Norse guy in the chat says those salaries, yikes. And the truth is, at this time, most NHL players had off-season jobs.
Yep.
Like you'd finish your season and you'd go do work, especially poignant for minor league guys too. They would go and lots of them work construction jobs. If the top guys might get nice jobs selling cars or something like that.
You might go dig graves. Who was it? Somebody had a job digging as a grave digger. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah. And so it might help keep you a little bit in shape, but that's when training camps were really for guys getting in shape.
And Don Cherry's biography, or autobiography, talks about working construction in the off seasons.
Yeah, that was a fairly popular thing, I believe.
And tried working as a used car salesman at one point. So you imagine the clothing Don Cherry would wear as a used car salesman? That's a little terrifying. Okay, so
probably.
I think we got enough time to get up to the exhibition season at least. And Doug Roberts is he's almost ready to come back from his burns. He keeps talking about it, and let's hope he finally does. Oh, I should set up the scouting because we've really got more than we need here. Who's my best? Flamin is going to watch the entry draft. This is for a historical game. The scouting is a lot simpler. There we go. Use draft eligibility. And permanent assignments. And he only has to report back every 8 weeks. Setting for potential and quantity. Since you haven't got anywhere near as many players to scout as you would in a full modern game. You can set this up pretty simply. I'm going to assign one guy to the minor leagues, or these sort of pseudo minor league you have in historical mode. one guy to, oops, just watch the whole NHL. So we got continuously updated reports on everybody in the league. One to watch free agents of all types. See, I'm really going to wind up with more scouts than I actually need here, but maybe put a couple on free agents. I think I'll double up on pretty much all the jobs just so we've got good coverage everywhere. And in case I make a mistake somewhere in here, so what am I missing? Put one more guy on NHL scouting. And
so many scouts, Jeff.
I know it's not the 800 you usually hire.
Well, it's still not enough usually.
Okay, that's the scouts set up. Should probably take a look at our staff. Okay, I'm going to leave the staff as is for the time being. Set up training, and you can see if you haven't looked at the game recently, we've changed this a little bit. Just right now, it'll tell you the first number that's listed here is the guy's current rating in that position. So it just gives you a little better idea as to who is near the top. I think I'm going to focus all the goalie training on Esposito, since Sawchuk's 35, he's not going to improve.
What?
We'll try to get
what do you mean he's not going to improve?
It seems unlikely at that point. Oh, Brewer's actually got a half star more than I thought he did. Going to be fairly sparing with the extra training attention. Focus it on the young guys, just about maybe 3 or 4 in each category. So we can be fairly sure that they're going to improve. And you can see that the second number after the rating is the training bonus. That will drop for players as I add more guys to the list for getting extra training focus. No. What I'm looking for here is people who've got some potential, at least an extra half star or so to develop. And I don't think I've got many big scoring defensemen, so I'm going to have to focus the offensive training on the forwards. Okay, I think that's all.
Looks like a good plan.
Continue forward to the exhibition season. Oh, we got to pick captains, and we got a training camp report. Doug Harvey, not surprisingly, has gone downhill a little bit, and everybody else is improving. Esposito coming along nicely. I would have maybe liked a little more. Andre Lacroix did pretty well. But we need to pick captains right now. So what we're looking for mainly is the mental abilities, leadership, and determination. And you want a guy who's a little bit older. So yeah, first Canuck captain, Orland Kurtenbach. Not surprisingly, 17 leadership. But Ted Hampson, future Oakland Seal in real life, 28 years old. I think he looks like the best bet here. He's the same, a little year younger than Kurtenbach, but he's going to be our #1 center. So his determination is a little higher, so I'm going to go with him as the captain. give Kurtenbach one of the A's, and I think I'm going to put the other one on Bob Bond, just because I don't want
I
all my
like that. That's a
captains
good.
being
That's a good choice.
yeah, all my captains being centers seem a little weird. But Berenson probably gets, if we move one of those other guys, Berenson gets a letter eventually, I think.
Also a good choice.
Oops. Oh, we're up to a game already. So if the AI, let's let the AI pick the roles. How would they? So if the game wanted, if we do what the game wants, Jackman Sawchuk would be starting in goal. Harvey dresses. Who's sitting? Yeah, see, it's the younger guys. This all makes is pretty much the way I would do it, I think. Only 18 players dressed at this point, by the way, so it's not the 20-man rosters you'd see in the normal NHL. So what we'll do, we'll have is basically 3 lines, an extra forward, and 6 defensemen. Kennedy Kurtenbach, yeah, that's the way I expect the centers to look, and we've got all our only 2 right wings dressed. Oh, right, I was going to do that thing with putting Shaq on the right wing. Oh yeah, I think the guys picked pretty much exactly the lineup I would. So we'll try this for one game, but then we'll rotate some of the other guys in. Tactics, I'm gonna go with I mean, this is the 1960s. Tactics weren't too advanced at this point, so I'm going to stick with simple stuff. Dump and chase. I'm going to go with a very 60-ish. What's that?
Gudu's out here throwing shade in the chat for you, Jeff.
Yeah, Gudu.
It's a good job the Lightning are not around yet to play the Canucks.
Okay, so this basically the settings I'm taking here are kind of conservative, typical 1960s ones. Nothing too wild here. Yeah. I'm going to bump up the aggressiveness a little bit because I've got a fairly tough team. Back check hard, which is going to take a little bit of offensive away, but I think that will work for us. A little more physical. Crank down the tempo because we haven't got a lot of really talented offensive guys. And try not to get too complicated with the passing, just get the puck on the net. So that given, what does the AI want to do? 4 lines. So Duff, Hampson, and McKenzie is the first line. I want to swap the Kennedy and Berenson. I don't agree with that. I want Berenson on the second line because he's going to be more of a scorer and Kennedy's going to be checking. Oh, so it didn't put, who did it move to the right wing that instead of Shaq? Oh, Ferguson can play right wing too, so it's got him. Oh yeah, that's a super tough third line. That's funny. Yeah, Kurtenbach's listed twice in the fourth line. I hope that's not going to cause any problems. Don't think it will.
I think it will.
Well, let's see what happens. Let's start playing a game with it like that.
What? Why is he listed there? You should have somebody else there, right?
No, it's because it's only 10 forwards. I have to check on that. That may be a little bug. I'm just going to sim it. And does his ice time do anything weird? We lose 4-1 to the Leafs. And no, he only played 9 minutes, so I think that handled normally. Wow, Forbes Kennedy, 100 game rating right out of the gate.
That's impressive.
From the third line, too, yeah, wow. Oh, and the uniforms I've got from these are from Razor is posted in the forum in the mod section. A couple of the old school Vancouver Canucks Western Hockey League uniforms. That's what this is, and you probably saw the other one briefly in the away uniform, because this is the 60s and white is the home uniforms at this point. Oh, great, and we lose Carl Brewer, our best defenseman, strained Achilles tendon. Fantastic.
Isn't Doug Harvey our best defenseman?
No, Doug Harvey is, well, let's look at the depth chart and see. Doug Harvey is our third best defenseman. Brewer's first, Bergman, and then Harvey. But Brewer is gone now, so we will give Dennis Kearns a shot, and I'm just going to rotate some of the younger guys in every game, 2 or 3 of them, swap it around a little, get these guys some experience. What's it going for? All of those. And we got the Rangers up next. And you can see that it's a little hard to tell. That's the it's got the Canucks spelled across it, but that is the road version of the 1960s jersey. And we get a 3-3 tie with the Rangers, so at least we're reasonably close to these guys. Andre Lacroix, 3 points. So despite being 1 star, making a pretty good bid for it. Well, he only had, that was Kurtenbach that had 6 minutes. Lacroix had 18. Pretty nice game out of him.
Not bad at all.
And, it looks like we are just about out of time here. So we're going to keep this one running for a while, I think. This is I think the plan is this will be my long-term game through the spring and maybe even into the summer. And we'll see how far this can go. And I think what we'll do is kind of use this to show the how you can change historical expansion in the NHL, because we've already, since I've turned the editing on, we won't get the normal expansion in 1967. We won't get a WHA. So what we'll wind up doing is expand in a slightly different pattern, maybe with different teams that actually wound up in the league in real life, and aim for maybe 20 to 24 teams by the early 70s. As I think that's about as much as the player database can handle without being, making the rosters really thin and ridiculous. But
by having turned off League Evolution, we won't have the WHA to compete with, right? So
so that's it'll make sense. There'll be enough. A lot of those guys who were in the WHA will be available at that point.
Yeah.
And okay, so I think that pretty much winds it up here. I may play out the rest of the exhibition season, just get us up to the start of the regular season for the next show. But I think we'll be back next week with your game, Adam.
Yes. Which is the Minnesota Wild, and we're trying desperately not to get fired.
And not really
in our second season.
We'll see.
Doing what we can.
Okay, so do you want to wind it up there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So thank you very much for tuning into another Franchise Hockey Manager stream. We typically stream every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/OOTP Developments. Of course, all of our streams are archived on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/OOTP Developments. You can also reach out to us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Franchise Hockey Manager. On Twitter, we're at Franchise Hockey. We can also find a link to our official Discord channel, or you can come on down to our official website, which is ootpdevelopments.com. Click on the community button in the top right-hand corner, which will bring you to our official forums. When you come talk about Franchise Hockey Manager, Out of the Park Baseball, Perfect Team, or anything else you want to talk about. Jeff, that's kind of our big stuff right now, I think. And we'll be back again next week with our 2020-2021 Minnesota Wild game to see, and come see if we get fired or stay alive, or what exactly will happen. Because if we get fired, I'm not really sure what we're going to do.
Yep. So we'll figure out something, I guess. So thanks everybody for coming out, and we will be back this time next week, and we'll be back on our usual Wednesday night broadcasting schedule, I think, for the foreseeable future at least. Thanks for coming out, and we'll see you a week from now.